An inmate in the Indiana jail only lasted 2 days, as he was taken out of his protective custody cell and put into a 30-man unit where he would be brutally beaten for over 2 hours by 10 inmates. He was hogtied. He had his head put into a toilet that was filled with bleach, where they would jump off the top bunk onto his head. He was stabbed, kicked, beaten, and drowned in bleach, toilet water, and blood. He only lasted 2 days. The whole reason is he hurt children. Let's get into it. Cruz was housed in a community-style cell block that featured multiple bunk beds, a day room, and common areas where inmates could interact. On the night of the attack, there were about 29 inmates on the cell block. The attack reportedly began after some inmates learned of Cruz's alleged history as a child molester. According to witnesses, statements, and affidavits, one inmate allegedly warned it's about to go down, immediately sparking the violent confrontation. Cruz had been moved into general population at approximately 7:22 p.m. after being in quarantine for COVID-19 exposure. As the third shift staff began their duties, the assault commenced sometimes between 9 and 11 p.m. Inmates began by targeting Cruz, verbally accusing him of child molestation. Witnesses claim that when Cruz attempted to yell for help, he was gagged with a towel. The inmates then escalated the violence by physically assaulting him. He was forcibly removed from his bunk and kicked off the bed. Inmates wrapped torn sheets around their hands to hype each other up and coordinate the attack. The reason they ripped that off is to cover their knuckles from busting open, so they don't have any cuts or anything like that, almost like a glove. They wrap it real tight, so when they're beating him, and they go to check the hands to see who was there, can't see shit. They reportedly struck Cruz, including beating him with a food tray. During the assault, they hogtied him with a sheet, shoved his head into a toilet, poured bleach on him, and stomped on his head. The assault was so brutal that witnesses described it as a prolonged, systematic beating. Some inmates actively trying to prevent Cruz from escaping or defending himself. When officers finally arrived on the scene, Cruz was found face down in the middle of his cell with severe head injuries. He was rushed to the hospital where he died approximately 74 minutes after being found unresponsive. Investigators also noted that Cruz had suffered a previous attack in a different cell a few months earlier, where he was found with severe bruising, bleeding from his left ear. There was also mention of another assault in the same cell block days before his fatal beating, further highlighting the volatile environment within the facility. At least 7 inmates have been charged with the murder in connection with Cruz's death. The individuals charged include Gamron Tedford, Kevin Donaldson, Clayton Hagan, Jalen Ryle, David Sparks, Lazian Watkins, Delance Hatcher. The 8th inmate, Jeremy Satsfield, has been charged with aggravated battery, a level 3 felony. Other co-defendants have been identified in court documents but remain filed under seal, pending further proceedings. The investigation involved witness statements from other inmates, though many were initially reluctant to come forward due to fear of retaliation. Forensic evidence such as blood spatter and the injury documented on the autopsy supported the severity of the assault. Autopsy revealed Cruz sustained at least 18 injuries to the head, a dislocated neck, multiple injuries to his thorax, including bruised ribs and numerous lacerations. The incident was also examined in the context of prior assaults on Cruz, prompting further internal reviews of jail security and monitoring practices. The community-style design of the cell block has cited as a factor in the vulnerability of inmates, where the lack of individual cells can sometimes allow coordinated group violence to occur with little to immediate oversight. Following the incident, corrections officials initiated an internal investigation into the assault and circumstances leading up to Cruz's death. Following the incident, corrections officials initiated an internal investigation into the assault and the circumstances leading up to the Cruz death. In a related incident, a week later, another inmate was fatally stabbed, which led to an additional disciplinary actions against several jail employees for failing to conduct proper wellness checks. That's what happens when you hurt kids. To have that level of violence be bestowed upon you is not a coincidence, where over 10 inmates literally hogtie you to the point they shove your head in a toilet, pour bleach on you, and when you try to get away, they grab you and drag you back. Think about that. You're in jail, prison, you hurt children. Officers are letting over 10 inmates pour bleach, chemicals all over you, hog-tie you, shove your head in a toilet, beat you half to death, then finally kill you. You're screaming and yelling, they shove a towel in your mouth. Think about how those kids felt, right? Nobody gives a fuck because you didn't give a fuck when you hurt those children. Now you're in there, you're crying for your life. And that's a brutal, brutal death. But just think about all the children's lives that are ruined by the system. And finally, the only time the system doesn't fail these children is when it's too late and the COs let this shit happen and look the other way or set it up so it happens. It's a dirty game, but you leave our kids alone. Stay out, stay free, us.